say what matters most is what people say first of all.
My name is Lwandile Qokweni. I guess I'm many things: a father, husband, brother to many people, and one of the organizers of the 1965 ride, which is an annual ride for education that goes between Johannesburg and Queenstown every year, raising money for disadvantaged kids from non-well-to-do backgrounds who need the money to go to school, let alone to a school that is as privileged and as good as Queen's College. We're able to take between 8 to 10 kids, both boys and girls, through Queen's College from standard 6, which is grade 8, to standard 10, which is grade 12. The ride is an emotional experience in many ways. I think it's emotional, firstly, because I wasn't much of a cyclist. I still ain't, still trying. So it was quite interesting to get on a bike for the first time since I was probably 12 years old, let alone try and ride 890 kilometers over the space of 9 days. So it was emotional in terms of just pushing yourself on a daily basis, waking up every morning at 6 o'clock with your body tired, keeping on going. It was emotional because it's an experience I shared at the time with 16 other people. There were 17 of us riding, so you become really good friends. You go through a lot of troubles together. You face the wind, you face the rain, you face 4 degrees centigrade in the Midlands of South Africa. You climb the Maluti Mountains. It is actually quite an emotional challenge. But the most emotional thing with the ride is when you actually get to Queenstown and the beneficiaries in the entire town are there waiting for you to congratulate you on what you've been able to do in terms of raising money on behalf of other people, but also the accomplishment of actually riding all those kilometers on a bike. The ride has been going on for the better part of 6 years. It was started by a gentleman called Anthony John Frost, who is an alumni of Queen's College. 1965 was the year he matriculated, hence why it's called the 1965 ride. A couple of years ago, Anthony looked at what cause could he give back to after years of having success in life in South Africa. And the one big cause which I identify with is education, because if you help a person get education, they can figure out the rest of their life themselves. The biggest challenge with education is the reality that there are very limited bursaries for kids to study prior to university. From university, if you're gifted, you will make it. But prior to university, you could drop out because your parents don't have the money to take you to a school, let alone a good school. So this presented a really great opportunity to actually provide some bridging finance for the student. These people have to motivate, though, why we have to actually sponsor them, because obviously, whilst there's a lot of money that has been raised, it's not enough for everybody who can. Generally, they tend to be people who are either academically gifted or sports gifted, or in most occasions, both. Some of the people who have previously passed matric and gone on is a squash champion. The other gentleman plays for the Blue Bulls. And then we have a lady last year who finished matric with an aggregate of 95.8%. So really gifted people who wouldn't have been able to go beyond grade 8, which is quite amazing. We still have a lot of other people who are still in the system. But yes, part of maintaining and keeping your bursary is to perform well within your grades, but also to perform well in terms of sports. And hopefully we will build people who will become people who will make a better South Africa, but also people who will become people who give back to the ride themselves as the years go by. The ride has certainly grown in fame in terms of people who are participating, and part of it year on year, and we're hoping that the people who benefit from it go in turn to become part of giving back. So support to the ride is given in a number of ways. Obviously, there's a financial one, which really, really helps because that's what we're trying to do. In terms of individuals, it's pretty simple. You go onto the 1965 ride page, so you can go into Google and just type 1965 ride. And you can use PayPal or any credit card system, and you'll see on the actual ride page, it's there. It's actually very simple. So that's one way. The other way, if you know someone who's currently partaking in the ride, is 10 guys, actually 2 people joining today, which makes them 12, participating in the ride. If you know any of those 12 people, you would obviously then coordinate with them directly and through them donate on their behalf, because the reason why they ride is so that people can donate on their behalf. So that's the other way. Companies are also able to do so. There's quite a few companies that actually are partners to the ride, General Motors being one of our biggest partners. Another partner would be the Life Hospital brand. They're also a partner. And any other company that wants to become part of this can do so. The ride is registered as a charitable organization, therefore they are able to claim back in tax or any other way that they would like to. And the way for a company to obviously be part of this would be to contact either myself or Anthony John Frost. We would then give them the necessary documentation and the account. The ride is actually currently in place. We are on day 3, and day 3 is from Rates to Fitzroy, which is actually the longest day. It's 148 kilometers riding. So they'll be riding for most of today. I think today they finish around about 6 o'clock. They have already ridden the better part of about 210 kilometers in the last 2 days. So yes, it is going on. Obviously the ride goes from Johannesburg to Queenstown. This year we're actually having 2 other groups joining the ride in the middle of the ride. So we have 2 people who joined today, and there's another 3 joining on Monday. So they will finish as a group of 15 people. So they started off as 10. Yeah, I mean, Queenstown is not the biggest town, so the riders ride into Queenstown, and there's normally a lot of people along the road, but the apex or the pinnacle where we finish off is the wreck in Queenstown. So I would say the best place to join the ride or to actually see the ride in its culmination and glory would be the wreck at Queenstown. That would be Thursday of next week, which is the 20th. Yeah, the 20th. Yeah. Typical day on the ride. Each day is so different because you are going through 3 different provinces, and each province has its own climate, has its own terrain, and its own challenges. But typically, what would happen? The first and most difficult thing is waking up. Because every morning you have to wake up pretty early, specifically if you are in a rather maybe busier town, so that you can miss traffic. I mean, that's the biggest reason why. So at 5 o'clock you're waking up, probably at about 6 you're having breakfast, and you're on the bike. So that on its own is a challenging thing. You get on the bike, and every 25 kilometers we have a stop. And that's just to have a bit of hydration, check if everybody's still okay, have a bit of a breather, and we get going after another 25. Most of the days are over 100 kilometers. So in a day which is over 100 kilometers, you are having lunch in the middle. So that's probably a good point in the ride because you can get a bit of rest. But it's always obviously difficult after lunch because now you actually feel like sleeping, let alone getting on a bike, which is often what we need to do. That is pretty much a typical day. Most days are finished off just after lunch. I'd say about 2 days are full days when you finish around about 4 or 5 o'clock. On those days, you don't have as much rest, but most of the other days, you actually get quite a bit of rest from about 3 o'clock in the day. You have time to kind of catch up with work because 9 days of leave is quite difficult to take for most people. But also time to catch up with other people on the ride and share the experience and get to know them better. In the process of, 9 days together, you get to know each other very well, in terms of who you are and where you come from. The other truth is that the people who join the ride become part of the ride further and beyond the 9 days. So we normally have cycling days every Saturday. where we meet and just have a ride and get to know each other better. And anyone who cycles is welcome to come join us, because that's where the ride actually truly begins. But the 9 days is when we actually raise the money for our cause. So the ride is an annual occasion, as you're saying, and anyone and everybody is allowed to join. It's not for ex-Quenians, it's for people who really believe in education and who believe that education is truly the key for the better future of this country. If you want to join and become a rider, obviously you need to get a bike, or you need to get on a bike soon. That's probably one of the best pieces of advice I'd give anyone. I waited way too long. It was a bit painful. The second piece of advice would be you need to start as early as possible. And the reason why you need to start as early as possible, entries into the ride are 15,000 rands, which sounds like an audible amount of money, but this is not money that needs to come from your pocket. This is money that can be raised through various avenues, people supporting you, individuals, but also most entities, most companies are able to support their employees in causes which they feel are causes that are close to their heart, and still be able to claim this from tax, which is how I joined, to be honest. I didn't have 15,000 rands, but my employer was willing to donate a sum of like 25,000 rands to the ride on my behalf, because this was something I felt was good. So for most people, what I'd advise is to go to their employer and actually say to them, this is a cause I'd like to be part of. This is how it works. You can give your employer the ride page, which has all the details and shows that we are registered, which actually makes it much easier, especially if it's before their fiscal year end, because then they can factor it into the next year end, which actually makes it more of a HR thing than actually anybody else has to be involved. So that's probably the easiest way to get into ride. Once you've done that, really, it's about conditioning your body and getting ready to be able to do 60 to 100 kilometers every day for 9 days.
And then if you can just send a message to those guys who are currently doing cycling. In closing.
Yeah, in closing, it's actually interesting that the time which you came at is actually quite interesting, because right now they'd probably be climbing quite a difficult road out of Bethlehem, which is a small town in the middle of nowhere, on the way to Vicksburg. This is probably the hardest period in the ride. It's about 70 k's into today, with probably another 100, well not 100, about 80 to go, so it's halfway through. It's a painful day, it's a hard day. Going into Vicksburg is about a 5-kilometer climb, so at the end of it all, you're still, going into quite a tough period. So I guess my best message to them is hang in there. After today, it really is downhill, because this is the hardest day. Day 3 is tough. Day 3 is the hardest day. But if you make it through day 3, the rest is all downhill, as they always say.